Hello, and today I'm going to answer a question that's been posed about the phrase "as rich as Croesus" and where does that come from? Now, the historian of the 5th century BCE, Herodotus, can certainly help us in this regard. Croesus himself was a king from Lydia, which was a kingdom in the western part of Turkey for several centuries before Herodotus, so roughly about sort of 700 years worth of rule. And Croesus comes at the end of that line of kings that ruled Lydia up until 546 BCE. Now, according to Herodotus, Croesus was the descendant of another king who started a kind of family line known as Gyges. Now, unfortunately, Gyges came to usurp the throne of Lydia by killing the existing king Candaules, and is therefore punished in so much that it's predicted that the fifth generation from him will fall from power. And of course, Croesus is the fifth generation on from Gyges, and indeed he will experience a terrible downfall, leading to the destruction of the Lydian Empire, which moves over to Cyrus and the Persians. But in Herodotus, we learn a lot about Croesus and the kind of man he was, according to this particular source, that is. And what we see in the first book of the histories is the Athenian lawgiver Solon traveling around different parts of the Mediterranean, learning about how different cultures have their laws and how their constitutions work. And Solon comes to meet Croesus, the Lydian king, in Sardis, the capital. And there he's treated very well and meets a lot of Croesus's attendants. And as part of this kind of great exchange of ideas, Croesus gets his attendants to show Solon round his huge, wealthy treasury as part of his palace in order to impress Solon. It doesn't really work, however, at least not for Solon, I'm afraid, who's a rather wise, sort of shrewd figure and isn't terribly impressed by all these items of Croesus. And in fact, ultimately, Croesus dismisses him from Sardis because Solon doesn't really impress him with his careful advice about looking beyond wealth and thinking about how things can change in a sudden moment. But later, in Herodotus' account, we learn a bit more about this wealth of Croesus again, specifically when he's worrying a bit more about other potential threats to his power, not least the Persians. And so he's wanting to get different Greek. He was learning about the Greek world, and he wants to just find out who the important Greeks are that he might look to get on side. And as part of all of these sort of knowledge exchange, he goes to the Greek oracle at Delphi and makes bounteous donations and sacrifices to the oracle in order to impress the god, get the god on side. So, for example, he donates many gold, silver, very refined items. But as part of that, he dedicates a golden lion weighing some 10 talents, which would be an enormous sum of money simply on one sacrificial offering, one offering amongst many that Croesus donates. So it was really an enormous sum that he was able to provide as part of this exchange with the god in order to try and get the Greeks on his side. So certainly Herodotus gives us a really interesting insight into the great wealth and power of Croesus, and that certainly gives us some idea as to where we ultimately get the phrase as rich as Croesus, or Croesus's gold. It's also worth just adding that Croesus, or certainly the Lydians, were almost certainly responsible for the earliest use of coinage as well. And so that also contributes to this association between Croesus and great wealth. I hope you've enjoyed learning about this, and please do keep coming forward with your questions. Thank you.